Greater Sandton and beyond. Get ready for the Sandton Times Hour
with your host,
Alexander.
If you're waking up on the West Coast or Gold Coast, if you're in Durban or Dubai, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond, this is the Sandton Times Hour on Mix 93.8 and also available on all good podcast platforms. I'm Alexander Leibner, and this is edition 139. It's week 47 of 2023, and I'm excited to be with you once more. If you'd like to send through your questions, your comments, or your feedback, you can do so using the email address as you do every single week, editor@sandtontimes.co.za. You can connect on social media @Sandton Times and visit the website www.sandtontimes.co.za. And if you're listening live on Mix 93.8 and not at a later stage during the week, as you do, on a podcast or on a digital audio streaming platform, well, the WhatsApp line is open. You can use that right now, 0848220938, 0848220938. And it's always good to see your comments and your questions, your thoughts. And we don't always read all of them out because sometimes it's just not possible. And some of them are not meant to be read out. It's just sort of feedback. But it's always nice to hear from you, so please feel free to use those. And a very special welcome to everyone in Gauteng, if you're in Johannesburg or Pretoria or somewhere else around those areas, and of course across South Africa. If you're listening maybe via streaming on DStv or on the website, I'm happy to report that all is well in Sandtonland, and the team's back together again. Vincenzo behind the mixing desk, doing it. Is it one more time, 2 more times for November, and then before you know it, it's going to be December. I mean, this last quarter has absolutely flown by. But talking about flying by and flying down, how was that hailstorm last week? I mean, it was during the show that this unfolded, and it actually wasn't long. It was actually quite quick in terms of storms. But especially the Midrand area got nailed by some serious hail. I mean, I was looking at some of the pictures online, and some severe damage. I think it even knocked off some of the music off our playlist. So if you were listening on streaming or some whatever platform and you didn't hear a song, well, maybe it was the hailstorm that knocked it off. But I think we've got it back under control, and hopefully no weather shall impact the show's running order this week, Vincenzo. Then, yeah, it really is the end of the year. It really feels like everything's slowing down. I think those responses to emails where people are saying, you know what, let's pick this up again in 2024. Let's pick this up in January. Let's circle back. Is that the corporate jargon? Circle back in the new year. That's happening a lot right now. I actually just did a paddle game this week. I think that was one of my last events for the year with Discovery. And I'd played the game. You pick up a racket and you kind of figure it out. If you've played squash or tennis, you can kind of navigate a paddle or a padel court. But I never knew the rules. So this week was a chance to actually get to know the rules. And once you know the rules, it changes the whole game, right? Because now you actually know what you're playing for. And very cool time playing with the Discovery team, catching up with a whole bunch of other people, and I believe Ben Karpinski of MatchKit, he won the tournament. They put together like a little bit of a tournament, and he walked away with the title and the honors of this year's paddle game with Discovery, so congrats to him. Then Black Friday is around the corner. Well, first is Thanksgiving in the United States, and then there's Black Friday. So I don't know if you're bracing yourself for Black Friday, if Black Friday is a big thing in your diary, if you've held back on purchasing stuff over the last couple of weeks to make sure that Black Friday is the day that you get the best deal. And in some instances, you do get quite a good deal, but you have to be very sussed. You have to know exactly what you want. Got a bit of a list. You know what the prices are, so you don't get sort of fooled by some 2% or 5% discount, or that they've put the prices up and then discounted it. So you need to kind of have your wits about yourself. But are you preparing for that? Are you getting ready for that? And then it's the holidays. Preparing for the holidays, going away, doing something. I don't know if you're going away this year, maybe not. Maybe staying at home, which is also probably not a bad idea, because airline tickets are ridiculous at the moment. Ridiculous. I mean, I've had to book a flight, and I was just like, this is unbelievable, especially mostly the international flights. I mean, they're now charging for everything. You want to change your seat, you want to do a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. I mean, there's a price for everything. And it is ludicrous. I mean, I booked a flight a while back, then decided last minute maybe I should make some changes to it. Forget it. You might as well book a whole new flight, and you could probably fly around the world twice under normal circumstances. So December, these international airlines, they take the ringer out of it, let me tell you. So if you're not going anywhere, good on you. Probably a good idea. Take the money, put it under the mattress or in the sofa or wherever you want to put it, because it is just incredible. Anyway, coming up on this week's show, he is a South African comedian who regularly has his online followers in stitches with some of his commentary and slices of South African life. And his new show is around the corner, and we get a chance to chat, which I'm looking forward to. Then he's got a new show coming up on National Geographic. It's a show in our own backyard, and I sit down with him to get all the details on surviving Africa, so stay tuned for that guest. And finally, an exhibition is coming to Sandton showcasing the versatile nature of a hotly debated plant. Well, this and more is coming up shortly, and as the year is fast coming to a close, it's time for a bit of music, and I couldn't think of a better track than this one, right here on the Sandton Times Hour on Mix 93.8.
Promote your brand. Advertise your business.
Our audience could be your next client. Contact the Sandton Times today. The best of talk and music in 1 hour. This is the Sandton Times Hour.
This is the Sandton Times Hour on Mix 93.8 and available on all good digital audio platforms. And that was Wendy and Lisa featuring Seal with the closing of the year. And I love that line, if I cannot bring you comfort, then at least I bring you hope, from that remarkable movie Toys with Robin Williams back in 1992. Very obscure movie, but this particular track just stuck with me, and I think it's just so fitting for this time of the year. And it's a message I can certainly echo at this time. I think there are so many around the world who are suffering, who are facing hardship, and just need an ounce of hope for a better and peaceful tomorrow. And I think that song just encapsulates that. It's time for the headlines for this week. Well, talking about that hailstorm, the Southern Sun Hotel in Rosebank has been temporarily closed to assess the extent of the damage caused by that severe hailstorm in the past week. And this is reporting from MoneyWeb. The decision to halt operations at the hotel came after the roof above its restaurant gave in to the weight of ice and water that had built up during the hailstorm. And this is so interesting. I spoke to some family members in Europe about this, and they were saying, well, you know, the houses in Europe, especially the roofs, have to be extra strong because they factor in the snow load during winter. So they've already worked out the fact that the roofs have to be extra strong to manage heavy snow over winter. Now in South Africa, that isn't the case, right? So we're not bothered by snow or snowfall or weight on a roof in such instances. So when this kind of stuff happens, where there's a lot of water and a lot of ice, I can just see how the roofs are probably not quite ready for it. So other areas that were hit by this freak storm were Midrand, as mentioned, Sunninghill, Bryanston, and Bromfontein. So I also know I was supposed to be test driving some cars this past week, and I got some emails and phone calls saying, listen, not going to happen. We just got the car back, and the windows are all missing, so we have to replace all the windows, or, you know, the roof's dented. So, yeah. This past weekend, the IEC held its voter registration drive, and if you haven't registered to vote or haven't double-checked if you're registered in the right suburb, this is also important. If you've moved houses, there's been any changes, make sure those changes are recorded, because you want to make sure that you have every opportunity to vote next year. And if you haven't registered, please, just do yourself a favor. It's going to take you a few minutes. Go online and make sure you register to vote. The IEC website has all the details. I know we've posted some stuff on social media channels. It's just so critical that everyone plays their part. It's going to take you maybe an hour next year. Go to the voting station, cast your vote, make your voice heard. Then you can complain as much as you want, but don't complain and not vote. And nothing's going to change unless you bring about the change. So if there's something that irks you, something that you've wanted to change, something, if you look back on the last 4 or 5 years, that you just say, you know what, I'm done with this, then go out and vote. In some poorly publicized retail news, there's supposedly a new Nintendo store in Sandton City, as well as a new Starbucks coffee shop that's opened. And then also, the same vein, apparently Lacoste celebrated its 90th anniversary, and they had a bit of a pop-up store in Sandton. And there seems to also be a new North Face store that is apparently open. So if you're into retail, a couple of breadcrumbs there that you can pick up on. Let's leave the headlines there for this week. After the break, I'm joined by South African comedian Kevin Fraser as he embarks on his South African tour, Africa is a Feeling. Keep listening.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
Get ready to outshine summer with Virgin Active. Start with the month on us. Add on the freedom to move and gym at over 130 clubs with a premium membership. Score 40% off monthly fees and punch, run, lunge and swim your way to a stronger, happier you, wherever you are. Call 0860 Get Fit or visit your nearest club to get started. It's your time to shine. virginactive.co.za. T's and C's apply.
It's a good question because lots of people have asked us that, what are you going to do going forward?
That's a great question.
It's a critically important question.
Such a great and interesting question.
I have not even thought about that until you just said it.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
This is the Sandton Times Hour on Mix 93.8 and available on all good streaming and digital audio platforms as we get the week's interviews on their way. I'm thrilled to be joined by all-round entertainer Kevin Fraser as he debuts his all-new comedy tour across South Africa this summer, taking to the stage with a theatrical safari of nostalgic impersonations, heartwarming tales of comedy, and groundbreaking rhythms of energy and laughter. He's probably best known for his funny clips online. And Kevin, welcome to the Sandton Times Hour.
Thank you, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Let's kick things off. You've got a tour coming up in the coming days called Africa is a Feeling. What can audiences expect from this comedy show?
Well, that's the title. Africa is a Feeling, and we're embodying everything that we can for this tour to really evoke all things that we celebrate on our beautiful continent, our wonderful country, especially after recent celebrations, right? We can look forward to endless satire and observational humor with a production that hasn't been seen before yet by me, at least in my shows and essays. So looking very forward to theatrical performance. Yeah.
Listen, I mean, you became very well known through some of the videos that you've done online, but obviously in the wide woke world of today, how have you managed to translate what is funny in a video online to a very specific audience that is bought into that kind of humor onto stage to a very different kind of audience?
100%. Yeah. So I think, well, obviously you do have your fans that follow you online and they flock to your live shows, but live shows always offer that opportunity to get the real, raw, authentic self across to your audience. And I would still, I guess, pull elements from the online content space. But because people have chosen to dedicate their time to actually come and see you live, it offers quite a cool opportunity to further enhance that and to just do real raw stand-up.
Kevin, what do you prefer more? Do you prefer putting in that time crafting those videos that people know? And as I say, if you're listening right now, go check out Kevin Fraser. We'll put on the details, his Instagram details up on the website. You must go have a look. Do you prefer doing those sort of crafted videos, or do you prefer the spontaneity and the live reaction of a audience in front of you?
Yeah, it's such a good question, because the beauty of online is you get to see people's feedback, and that's just, you can't put a value on that. To see how people react, to get messages from people, it's such a beautiful thing. But me, 100%, I much prefer being live on stage, not the 10 minutes before we start, but I definitely much prefer that real, because it's happening right in front of you. And if something is just working and, just to have that real emotion in front of you and break the fourth wall you can't put a price on that either.
Kevin, you're also known to obviously embody a lot of South African cliches, stereotypes. I mean, you literally take on every race, every religion, every gender, everything possible. Have you had people come up to you in the street and sort of take offense and kind of take you on about these things?
No. I think if anything, what happens in the street is people often come up to me and they expect me to be an extension of my news feed because they've captured those few seconds, and they're going nuts. And I'm like, I'm actually quite introverted in many ways, and I'm quite quiet. They're like, oh, what's wrong with Kev today? I'm like, no. I was just going to buy some apples. So I wasn't in that frame of mind.
Now, you've had a successful range of tours that you've done in places like Australia. I know you've toured also across Europe. I think I don't know if you've done the US yet. What have you brought back from those countries, but also what have you taken from South Africa into those regions? Because I'm also assuming a lot of that audience are also South African expats.
Absolutely. What have I brought back? I've brought back generators. No, not quite. What I always bring back is just, again, I think that's what helped motivate this Africa's a Feeling tour, is just that desire to want to further expand on what Africa stands for, because there is just no place in the world like our country that has the soul that we do. And I feel that lacks over there. So it's two things. It's you're coming back with the affirmation that this place that I come from is just so important, so beautiful, and also wanting to take that expression right across the world as well. And that's, I mean, the industry is doing that right now, and it's beautiful to see. Not just comedy, music, entertainment. It's great.
Well, you're taking the show right across South Africa. I mean, you're kicking off from Pretoria, you're touching on Johannesburg, East London, Gqeberha, Durban, Cape Town. Do you find that you have to adjust some of your content to each city? I mean, does each city have their own unique energy and sort of the humor that they're expecting you to bring?
100%. I mean, we know what happens by the time we get to Cape Town. Hey, that mountains has got such an influence on people.
It's a slightly slower show, is it?
I think, it's you have to, and I think that's just knowing your audience, and I think people do appreciate that if you touch on something local. Happens overseas, you have to do that, but I think we're so smart as South Africans, we get everything, so you can give a little dose of you can give the Robertson spices of everything you do across the board.
I think that sounds very tasty. Kevin, obviously this is I think your last tour for this year. I mean, you're sort of wrapping up the year, and it looks like it's been quite successful as we've now finally come out of COVID and the pandemic, and life seems like it's a little bit more predictable again. What are your plans for 2024? How's that looking right now?
100%. So the beauty of this tour is it's the start of the 2024 calendar, really, by doing it in South Africa. And then I take this tour around the world next year, which is pretty exciting. And I'm looking forward to a little bit more time off in between the tours, because I love touring, but you've got to be able to rest and in order to be able to repeat. So that's happening. And the big thing for next year, which I'm really excited about, is finally getting to go to the US and take this tour there. So I'm very excited about that.
Well, Kevin, I hope we get to chat to you next year about that tour and some of the other ones. But for right now, I'm going to release you into your last South African tour for this year. And, of course, the festive season. And I wish you all the best for the break and a good start to the new year.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks so much.
Fantastic. Well, there you have it. Kevin Fraser. We're going to put up all the details of his tour kicking off on the 24th of November up on the Sandton Times website. It's the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a quick musical break and more of the Sandton Times Hour right after this.
Back for more?
The Sandton Times Hour continues.
This is the Sandton Times Hour on Mix 93.8 and available on all good digital audio platforms wherever you are in the world. It's always good to have you with me. And that was Avicii with Hey Brother. My name is Alexander Leipner, and if you listen to the show regularly or if you've joined us for the first time, welcome. You can get all the details of what we discuss every hour, every week on the website, and you just go onto the sandtontimes.co.za and visit this week's show notes. And there you get information on what we spoke about, links, trailers, whatever you need to know. It's all on there. You don't have to try and write it down while you're driving in your car or sitting in the bath. Also, be sure to visit the Sandton Times social media accounts and follow them at Sandton Times, whichever one you prefer. Right, there's a new show coming up on National Geographic on DStv. If you're a regular viewer, you might already know. If you're not a regular viewer, well, here's something for you to get onto the television and start watching. And I'm not going to say too much, but I'm going to play you a quick trailer, and then we're going to get chatting.
In the African wild,
I'm on a grueling solo journey into East Africa's legendary Great Rift Valley.
There are only two options: sink or swim.
It's definitely a nice view up here. Whoa, starting to get really kind of scary in here now.
Hazen returns in a brand new season.
Whoa, this is pretty spicy.
Primal Survivor, Extreme African Safari starts the 22nd of November on National Geographic.
Right, there you have it. It's Primal Survivor Extreme African Safari, and I'm joined by adventurer, artisan, and biologist Hazen Audel to chat about this new series. And Hazen, congratulations on another season.
Thank you so much. I am so proud of what has manifested after this. Quite an expedition. So thank you very much.
I believe it's season 8. I mean, one good thing is that you've survived 7 seasons so far to get to this point. But how has
Spoiler alert, yeah.
But how has Africa treated you differently to some of the other seasons you've had to shoot?
My real agenda is to try to see the wildest places that are still left on Earth, because that's where the wildlife is. And then what I've discovered in my life of doing this is that there are people that are living in these places. And so wild people, traditional living people, and it's really become a fascination and a huge drive for me. Each one of these places has animals and people that have been pushed to the very edge of what's livable, hospitable. And Africa has its own feeling to it. Compare that to trekking across Guyana in the Amazon. You're talking about flood, mud, leeches, tropical diseases like that. You go to Africa and it's just where I was at in the Rift Valley, some of the driest places on the continent, the driest and hottest, just inescapable sun. And you can't imagine. You look at my face and I'm only 19 years old, but yeah, I think I aged about 30 years in that thing. But that was a major concern and a focus was just getting enough water to survive. And being in a lot of these places, literally, they have not rained in years. And a lot of these places have endured a severe drought that's unprecedented for over a decade. So it's really changed the environment. And I was right there to sort of see it for myself.
What initially inspired you to embark on these adventurous, paths that you've been on, and how has it shaped your perspective on life, having done this now for 8 seasons?
I originally really started traveling when I was 19, so I sort of dropped out of college thinking that I was going to be a biologist. Once I started, I'm the first person in my entire lineage to have ever gone to school, so I thought I was going to be learning about names of snakes and seeing cool stuff. No, that's not what you learn in college. Rather than studying the Krebs cycle and boring stuff like that, I decided, well, I better take off and see if I'm really going to devote my life to the Amazon to be a biologist. So I took off and went there, thought I'd visit. It wound up being 8 months. Then it wound up being I went there every year for the next 10 years of my life, and then realizing that half of my life was being spent in Ecuador or in wild places with indigenous people. And that is a place that really resonates with me. It's the place these are the people and places that have shaped who I am. And I know I'm an unusual creature. I have an unorthodox lifestyle. It's different and bizarre, but I think I have a different take on life. And I think I just really couldn't live without constantly being inspired by these indigenous people that are living in these places. And so I'm always going to be continuing to do this for as long as I can walk. And if I can't walk, who knows how I'll get there. But I couldn't live without it. And being on this latest expedition, none of it is, I have a fair amount of PTSD because there were a lot of times that were so incredibly challenging. But, how do I incorporate what I learned from the people that I came across on this expedition? How do I incorporate that into my life? And of course, each one of these expeditions, they wind up being the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And knowing well enough, I'm wise enough to know that not all of these expeditions wind up me actually seeing the destination.
Yeah.
But it's been this journey. And so all these things that I learn about, the challenges, I carry with me because life is not easy, but I'm armed with, one day, hopefully, I have wisdom to share with other people.
Well, on this Extreme African Safari, you head into the Great Rift Valley. It's about 800 kilometers, which is, I think, sort of a good slice of walking from Johannesburg to Cape Town. I mean, I think you probably would get just before Stellenbosch or Franschhoek, I think, at that point. But it's not as glamorous or as delicious as walking to Cape Town. It seems a hell of a lot tougher. Give me a little bit of a background in terms of the behind the scenes. Is it just you and a couple of strategic cameras that you take with you? Do you have a crew that goes with you? And at what point does television or production intervene with reality? Like, how bad does it get where at some point somebody says, look, guys, we need to pull the plug on this, or we need to step away from this, or this is getting it too much?
Right. Well, I am very, very proud to say that there's a film crew with me. They're my film crew. They are my people. They wind up being my best friends because we are in the trenches together. And these are people that we'll usually take anywhere from 4 to 6 quote unquote professionals, in that they're the people that are the cameramen, the camera women, the producers, the sound people that bring this adventure to the rest of the world. I think since I was 19 and before we had a television program, I was doing all this by myself. Nobody could wrap their heads around really what it was like. It was my adventure. Now, I think the neatest thing, and also I'm just innately a teacher, so I get to share what I've seen with the rest of the world. So proud that it gets portrayed so beautifully by our Nat Geo team to be able to see this. But yeah, like I said, they get thrown into the river right alongside of me. We're in such remote places that a lot of times we have to carry generators with us. We have to strap them onto camels with burros, horses, anything that it takes, because a lot of this place is still kind of it's untouched, and there are even places that haven't really even been written about in National Geographic magazines. So it's frontier filmmaking, and so you have to have not only people that are capable technically and the best of the best, but also people that can withstand these harsh environments, because at the end of the day, you've got our camera people that are carrying around 60-pound cameras following me. They have a way harder job than I do. And then at the end of the day, they have to clean out all the grit and grime and animal saliva off their cameras. And then they have to set up their camp by themselves in the dark. And then, of course, we try to make a film, but all these things that are happening behind the scenes, like lions lurking around. And I was just telling a story about one of our guys he had to run an errand, and it was going to be a multi-day motorcycle ride to get some supplies. Came back, his motorcycle broke down only about an hour from camp. It was in the middle of the night, and a hyena came, and he had to spend the night up in a tree. And that's just the sort of thing. And then sometimes we had to carry, we're in such remote places. With the tribes helping us, we had to bring a cow with us because there's no refrigeration. We were going to eventually eat the cow. So we had to carry a cow with us. And it was it's hard to snack on that because it winds up being your companion for a couple weeks. And then all of a sudden, one night it got attacked by a hyena. We had to fend off the hyena with it. We had to stitch up our cow because we cared about our cow, knowing that in about a week, we're going to have to eat our cow. So that's the sort of filmmaking that goes on behind the scenes.
How do you feel the show has evolved since you first started with it over the seasons? Because the one thing about exploration and about adventure and these sort of trails that you go on is that you kind of always have to make it a little bit better the next time around, right? And I mean, the world has gotten to a point where we've explored everything, we've virtually seen everything, done everything. Right. It must become quite difficult to try and now find the next big thrill or the next big adventure that is better than the one before.
So how this show started was the very first season was called Survive the Tribe. And the very first pilot, the tester for this, was I wound up courting a production company well enough to say, hey, I've been living this life for the last 15 years. The things that I see in the wild with these traditional living tribal people, TV's never seen it before. And what I see is absolutely amazing, but you'll never be able to make a television program about it. It'd be impossible. Well, this production company that I work with, Icon Films, they really took that personal. And as their personal vendetta, came down with me the next April when I was going to go down and visit the Waoranis. So the Waorani group is people that have raised me ever since I was 19 in a lot of ways in the Amazon. And what an honor to be able to showcase their lives. We made a pilot, and I told the camera people, look, I don't know what's going to happen here. Just make sure that the record button is on and keep it on, because what you're going to see is just going to happen like that and nothing goes as planned. And we made a pilot. We shopped it around. National Geographic said, this is it. This is us. Then we did a series, which was 5 more locations all around the world. It was amazing, not knowing what was going to happen after that. And then here we are, year 10. I think we've made well over 80 episodes from all around the world. And I think the key to a success is we try to keep it as real as possible. Keep the record button on, see what happens, absolute chaos. And then it's your job, the production company's job, to make a story out of it that is comprehensible to an audience. So there's so much footage and so many adventures that never make the cut. And that's the unfortunate thing, because we're there 24/7.
Before I let you go, I have to ask you, what are you hoping your audiences will be taking away from this season Extreme African Safari?
The biggest thing is that there are these people that never get the limelight, but there are people that can show us how to really live. And we kind of are all ethnocentric. We all think that we know how to live. We're modern. We're all that. We have really lost touch with happiness of life, contentment, and we have a lot to learn from these people. So it's protecting the wildlife for this earth and also really finding a respect for these people that are living in these places.
Well, there you have it. Hazen Audel, he is the man, the face of Primal Survivor Extreme African Safaris, coming up on National Geographic on DStv channel 181. It kicks off on Wednesday, 22 November at 9 p.m. So make a date and make sure that you catch it every week. And Hazen, it's been great chatting to you on the Sandton Times Hour. We're going to take a quick musical break and we're going to wrap up the show right after this.
What you are about to hear is the sound of me drowning. My name is Matthew. On 7th January 2023, a rip current swept me out to sea. NSRI's beach safety camera operators spotted me. They radioed local lifeguards and saved my life.
Drowning is swift and silent. Please, always watch your loved ones around water and help us keep saving lives like Matthew's at nsri.org.za/donate.
Connect with the Sandton Times. Email editor@sandtontimes.co.za.
This is the Sandton Times on Mix 93.8 and available on all good digital audio platforms wherever you are in the world. And that was John Legend with You Deserve It All. Bit of festive music as we creep up to December, and it's literally around the corner, and before you know it, Christmas would have come and it would have gone. But talking about events that are coming around again, it's the annual, I think it's fair to say it's an annual event. It's the Cannabis Expo, which is coming to the Sandton Convention Center from the 24th to the 26th of November. And it's a 3-day trade and consumer exhibition focusing on the cannabis industry. So you're looking at health, agriculture, growing, and innovative products all around cannabis. But here to talk about this a little bit more is the event organizer, Silas Howarth. And Silas, it's good to have you on the Sandton Times Hour.
Yeah, so good to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, Silas, take us through the Cannabis Expo. You've obviously been running this for a few years, I'd say a handful of years. And what have some of the learnings been that have come out of this event? Because I'm assuming the first year, people all assumed it is what it is and they took it at face value. But it seems like it's matured and evolved over the years.
It's actually quite amazing. Even the first event, I mean, we started in 2018, just after the Concord ruling. I think it was just after September. And it was absolutely huge. It beat all of our expectations. And from there, it's grown and grown and grown. I mean, the industry, it's one thing with the Cannabis Expo, you see it growing year on year. It's another thing seeing the actual industry grow in this country, but also around the world. As legalization of cannabis and cannabis products is happening around the world, you see so many more products and companies actually coming to the fore, and they're all represented at the Cannabis Expo.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to just touch on the growth of the industry because, I mean, as I say, apart from the obvious where, people sort of consume it for recreational use and sort of smoke it and do whatever else with it, there is a big argument for it, and I think this was also part of the Concord ruling, in terms of its industrial use, things like hemp being used for clothing and manufacturing everything from sort of aircraft fuselage to car doors to all kinds of other things that you could do with this product.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's that is a massive part of the cannabis industry is not just about cannabis itself and consuming cannabis products itself. Like it is hugely diverse. And even when we started and launched the Cannabis Expo in 2018, we had no idea just how broad the cannabis industry actually is, and how many different type of products and ancillary products there are around the cannabis industry. And that's been so exciting to see. And as much as we have a lot of innovation internationally in cannabis products and across the whole value chain for the industry, it's amazing to see what our local South African, sub-Saharan African entrepreneurs are actually doing with cannabis products and with cannabis. I mean, there's such innovation and there's such potential here. And you can feel it when you're at the expo.
Yeah. Well, you've got about 200 exhibitors and you've got about 1,000 different cannabis products. What do those products consist of? I mean, apart from sort of the farming and I suppose the CBD gums that people have been chewing on as well.
There are so many products in the cannabis industry, and it crosses the entire spectrum. So a lot of people who have never been to a cannabis expo would assume maybe it's just about, consuming cannabis. But when you actually come in there and you realize, that it's been legal since 2018 in South Africa to grow your own cannabis at home. But how do you best grow cannabis? And at the expo itself, some of the products there are all about home growing kits, the best lights, the best soils, the best fertilizers for growing your cannabis. That's just one side, the home agricultural side. Of course, there's the large-scale agricultural side as well. Then the medicinal side of cannabis, whether it's CBD, cannabis for your health, cannabis for your pet's health. There's even cannabis products for horses. It's so diverse on the health side, and then the recreational side as well. So really, like, it crosses so many spectrums. Every time I come, and I'm now in the industry, we've been running this expo for years and years. I go to a lot of the international expos, and every single time I come to one of our cannabis expos, I am surprised and amazed and intrigued by the new products, the diversity of this industry. It's really, really something to behold.
So what else can people expect if they have or haven't been to an expo before? What's lined up for 2023? That's a highlight.
Yeah, what's pretty cool about the Cannabis Expo, I mean, yes, there's so many products, and yes, it's all about the cannabis industry itself and the thousands of cannabis products on offer, but there's so much more as well. From an educational point of view, there's a main stage that does, from Friday, that does panel discussions throughout the day, specifically with industry leaders, with experts, with medicinal experts, cannabis medicinal experts, as well as change makers, really talking about, and government legislators, really having important discussions about how to take, cannabis forward in this country, and, the latest innovations in health, in how cannabis can help with your health, and many, many other exciting topics. But then there's also, there's obviously the stands to browse, but outside there's a Freedom Festival, which is super. I mean, it's the dopest DJs, excuse the pun, and it's a cool environment outside. So and there's the cannabis food market as well, with cool munchies and things. So you really can spend a few hours walking around the Cannabis Expo, exploring the stands, interacting with people, listening to some talks, walking outside, enjoying some music, have some great food. It's a pretty awesome day or night out.
Well, there you have it. The Cannabis Expo at the Sandton Convention Center from the 24th to the 26th of November 2023. And we're going to put all those details up on the Sandton Times website. In case you didn't get the details or you want some more information, we'll pop that up there and you can find your way to this year's edition. And Silas Howarth, the event organizer, thank you so much for joining me on the Sandton Times Hour.
Thank you for having me.
talk about ending the show on a high, and that's it for the Sandton Times Hour on Mix 93.8, and is always available on all good podcast platforms wherever you are in the world. If you want to get in touch, you can email editor@sandtontimes.co.za or connect on social media @Sandton Times, or visit the website www.sandtontimes.co.za. And also feel free to send through your questions, your comments, your feedback, your input, your events, although I don't think there's much left for this year. But if you do, you can keep it for the new year and send it through. Thank you to all the guests who made the time to be on the show this week, as well as Vincenzo. Thank you. And thank you to the Sandton Times team, as well as everyone else at Mix 93.8, not just for this show, but I think for the entire year. There's an entire production team behind this that makes sure the show goes out on time and, scheduled, and, everything happens the way it should. So thank you to all of them. And thank you, of course, for listening, because you make this possible. And let's connect again next week.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to the Sandton Times Hour. And if you enjoyed it, be sure to share it.